Welcome, step right up. In this video, we have Geminis speaking about Gemini. My name is Timothy Halloran. I am a thinker, teacher, commentator, delivering messages on the nature of the times for sensitive and aware souls. You can comment, like, subscribe. That helps me to get the message out there. If you find this information useful, please share. I'm also offering 33% off my Astro School for interested students, those of you who would like to know, and yes, you can know, what your life experience is, why the experiences in your life are for the purpose of your soul's evolution. So to embrace your life experience for what it is. Okay, so let's talk about the end of May going into June 2022. There is a significant shifting, change-up, turnaround taking place in May. We are leaving an eclipse cycle and we're entering a new lunar cycle beginning with a Gemini new moon on May 30th. Okay, so May, eclipse season, as we mentioned in the last two videos, if you didn't catch that, the last two videos is actually going to be the themes of the year. We're talking about a global economic, agricultural change-up, housing crisis, money crisis. So there's tremendous shifting in terms of job, money, property, finances, and resources. We saw Mercury station retrograde in Gemini in May. Yesterday, Mercury moved back into the sign of Taurus. Mercury will station direct June 3rd on the north node of the moon in Taurus. This is signifying a period of reflection. Mercury retrograde generally very overhyped in the astrological community. It's a period of reflection. It's a period of experimentation. How are we connecting people, data, information? How are we aligning with information exchange? So this has been a period where we are exploring what are we interested in, what do we want to share, and how can we connect the dots between ourselves, our values, our desires, and taste with a world that's quickly changing, needs resources, education, and talents in various places. So this giant hot potato, this giant change-up is taking place collectively. Now, there's a big focus on the inner planets, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, that has so much to do with our personal, individual, as well as unique nature. I'm going to speak to this Mercury stationing direct, Mars and Venus in their own signs of Aries and Taurus. It's bringing a lot of focus and attention to our individual nature. Taurus is our taste, our likes. It is the liberation of being ourselves and honoring our own way, pace, and style. A part of this Mercury retrograde is the reflection upon the bits and pieces of our own interests, our own callings, what our inner child is excited to bring into school for show and tell. There is a reflecting upon our core essence. And as Mercury stations direct going into June of this year, there is a clarity. There is an understanding. There can be a clicking together. This is who I am. This is what I can do. It fills my own glass up. It gives me a sense of stability. It reminds me of what I'm all about, my heart, my truth, and my center, and it provides something. Taurus is about provision. It's about resources. It's about not only survival, but hopefully thriving. Abundance, pleasure, cups runneth over. Now, chances are we may not be there yet. Our world is in survival mode. Again, global economic agricultural revolution is the signature of Uranus on the north node in Taurus. So we can get more towards honoring our unique rhythm, way, pace, taste, style, and what we like through this process of individuation. Okay? Now, Mercury stationing direct on the moon's north node means that Mercury is also stationing direct square to Saturn. Saturn is squaring the moon's nodes all of this year of 2022, and Saturn will station retrograde 25 degrees Aquarius on June 4th. Now, this in particular is where you want to pull out your birth chart. You want to look at the degrees. 25 degrees, we would say 20 to 29 degrees, particularly of the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. Planets that we see 20 to 29 degrees of the fixed signs are going to be experiencing this incoming Saturnarian obstacle or challenge, where Saturn wants us to change a fundamental structure, change our orientation to society or to authority or to expectation or obligation. See, when Saturn stations retrograde, it is a revolutionary opportunity, especially Saturn stationing in Aquarius. Whatever were the original conditions, behaviors, what a good girl or boy is supposed to do, expectations, obligations, that is the realm of Saturn. Conditioning. The example is the scientist Pavlov rings a bell, feeds a dog, rings a bell, feeds a dog, rings a bell, feeds a dog, and then the scientist simply rings a bell and the dog salivates. That's an example of classical conditioning, when we have an expectation or a behavior that's railed in through that type of training or what may be negative reinforcement. This is all the realm of Saturn. When Saturn stations retrograde, this is an opportunity to break down those original conditions or behaviors wherever they are limiting, wherever they are unnatural. This is where this Mercury station, the first week of June, is serious, pragmatic, skeptical. What you see is what you get. This Mercury wants us to form a new relationship with our surrounding world, body, resources, so that way we can be more nourished, centered, aligned with our core values, sharing in this providing type of way what is also empowering and bringing us back to our core essence. That is the nature of Taurus. This Mercury square to Saturn says, in order to do this, there is a change up. You see, Saturn in Aquarius square the moon's nodes is this need to challenge the norms. Like, I think y'all have probably noticed how there's a significant change up of jobs and careers. The funny little reflection is someone always comments, "Oh, good job, Mr. Astrologer. What are you watching, the news?" Well, the reason I'm passionate to educate people on astrology is it's so straightforward. When you understand the archetypes, what you see is what you get. Uranus on the north node, square to Saturn, is this huge change up of society, job, career, infrastructures. It is all changing. So many people are going through a career shift up. This is where the Saturn in Aquarius square the nodal signature is saying there's a need to re-network. There's a need for humanitarian aid. There is a need to create structures, organizations, communities, and networks that are progressive. And this is the important bottom line. Something I am redundantly saying and will redundantly say is we cannot outsource this to somebody else. We cannot say the government's going to provide humanitarian aid. We cannot say our parents are going to be the ones to deliver us into the new world. There's work only we can do. There's tasks we must step up and accept as our duty, as our responsibility. That's where this distinct signature, North Node in Taurus, Mercury stationing in Taurus on the North Node, recognize your gifts, recognize your skills, your capabilities, where you're rich, where you're blessed, where you're abundant. That is your contribution to this progressive humanitarian movement that requires our participation, that requires our applying a conscious effort, actually moving, actually pushing things forward. Okay, as a little example of this, this means getting our hands involved, getting our hands a little bit dirty is the actual Saturnarian work. It's not this distant, I'm going to post this on my profile picture and now I'm a humanitarian savior, or, you know, I'm in this race and I feel really scared, and so I am going to broadcast this mission that's just coming from my own fears and insecurities, and then I remain distant. No, it's about getting involved. How can we change our world? And it's going to involve being involved with organizations, building our own organizations, building our own schools, where the external schooling organizations, bureaucracies are failing and falling apart. That's going to be a very distinct direction and push that's going to continue through the rest of this year. But this next month begins Mercury station square to Saturn, and then mid-June, Venus on the North Node square to Saturn. It's a beautiful period, mid-June, when Venus conjoins Pallas Athena, Uranus, the Moon's North Node in Taurus. It's really about this grounding, this anchoring into form, what we love, what we cherish, what fills us up. It can be made real. First, we have to cultivate a relationship to ourself. We have to know who we are. That's a part of this Saturn network. There's a need to create community. There's a need to create supportive networks between souls, because a part of this year's astrology, and again, month of May, is introducing these bottom line themes. During eclipse seasons, we really have our evolutionary work reflected back to us. The last lunar eclipse was in Scorpio. It's digging up soul material, past lifetimes, deeply buried unconscious dynamics, power dynamics, ulterior motivations, where we hide from ourselves, etc. What we're having to look at, where is there enmeshment? Where is there bypassing, manipulation, blaming other people instead of taking responsibility for our own? That's where there's going to be so much homework that has been introduced in May that's giving us this nudge and this push into creating the spaces, containers, and connections to authentically be ourselves. Other major shift, and this is another year-long transit ahead, is Jupiter just entered Aries, May 2022, where Jupiter will largely remain until May 2023. Jupiter will take a quick dip back into Pisces at the end of this year. However, it's largely Jupiter in Aries being introduced end of May, beginning of June 2022, and this is going to be a year-long exploration. The archetype of Aries. Aries rules individuality, independence, autonomy, desire, and Aries is what is new, what is fresh, what is exciting. Mars entered Aries yesterday, is joining Jupiter this weekend, the 29th, and then Mars will continue through Aries and join Chiron mid-June. So Mars, Jupiter this weekend is really introducing these new Aries directions. Jupiter is like a magnifying glass. Jupiter is the principle of expansion. Whatever zodiac sign Jupiter is transiting, Jupiter inflates, brings our attention there. We are exploring Aries, we are discovering Aries, we are bringing Aries more into our life, and that is where there is a journey of discovery. Specifically, Jupiter in Aries is self-discovery. How Jupiter is discovering more of our unique individual self is by having the necessary open road and the necessary freedom so to discover what makes us tick, what ignites us, what excites us, and brings us more energy, momentum, and charge. Let's talk about the nature of desire, not something that is so often understood in our society, still crawling out of the dark age patriarchal era. In such an age, desire was largely ridiculed as being the downfall of humanity. Desire, aka carnal craving, carnal, the body, the flesh. Have you heard of a carnival? A carnival is where you go to celebrate the body and the flesh, sexuality, celebration, good food. Well, all of those carnal desires is what keeps us incarnating. And in olden days, this was considered the absolute problem. We don't want to incarnate, we don't want to have a body, we don't want to be individuals, and we don't want to have an individual experience of life. Well, that creates a whole bunch of problems because you have incarnated, you are an individual, you're already here, you bought the ticket, you might as well take the ride. So what is desire? Desire is the charge that keeps us moving and going via an energy and a momentum that is generated by the tension in between where we are now, what we have now, and where we'd like to be, and what we'd like to have. You see, desire is like looking at a delicious ruby red apple when you are malnourished. There is a charge, there is a tension, and that tension generates a kinetic energy like a slingshot, where that tension in between us and our goal is what actually motivates and provokes us to launch towards that which we are craving, that which we desire. Now, the historical mistake is that we should end all such desire. Through the very gradual spiritual evolution that the Buddha spoke to through the metaphor of a bird flying over a mountain with a silk scarf, and that silk scarf eventually being worn down, throughout a bajillion and so many more lifetimes, we experience a diversity of desires that are ultimately reduced and exhausted until we return to the singular desire to merge with our essential nature, aka Source, God, the progenitor of all things. That's not something that we skip and jump to just because we may want to get there, just because we're determined, because we want to be enlightened. Some people are going to have that desire more than others, and you will see how that desire will be reflected in the person's life. Just like how I always say, there's actually very few people who actually learn astrology in its depth. Again, my astro school, wonderful way to get there, because people don't actually desire to know. Astrology is going to bring to you the knowledge, essentially, of everything on Earth, and why the way that it is, what it's going towards. All of these questions actually can be known. Do you want to know them? What we have a burning desire or a passion for, I can almost guarantee you, that's where we are going to go. Our desire orientation is how we experience all of life. Ram Dass gave the analogy, if we're hungry, we notice restaurants when we're driving down the street. If we're a horny celibate, we're going to notice all of the strip clubs. So our desire is actually what orients us to life. And the point that I'm making here is desires actually need to be explored. We don't have these burning passions for no good reason, and we usually cannot simply eliminate them, even if they're mysterious, unknown, not what we would want to do. At least part of us may not want to do it, another part may really want to do it. These types of conflicts will be explored, with Jupiter coming up to Chiron in Aries, all of the gender stuff, all the sexuality stuff, revolution, freedom, very, very much going to be explored with this pioneering, trailblazing Aries orientation that's just opening up to us at this time. Again, we need to explore such desires. We need to do it safely. Aries squares Cancer, respectfully, openly, with consent, all of the common sense no-brainer stuff. We are, Aries can be arrogant. Aries is like, I want to do this, so I'm going to run with it while other people exist, right? When Aries is in balance with the reality that other people do exist, we want to be opening the can of worms to our desires, what excites us, and have the necessary freedom to explore that, because those desires will either bring us into our potential, bring us into more of who we actually are in a self-empowering type of way, or there's a necessary exploration of such desires in order to eliminate or exhaust them. Some desires, we think they are different than what they actually are once we do them. How many of you have had the experience of being so excited by something and then you finally get that thing that you've wanted for so long, and then it's like, kind of anticlimactic. So this is how desire works. We are incarnated to explore where we have that tension, where we have that magnetic calling, and that is for some use or some function, to either clear an obstacle, an illusion, a trick, and then we clear that out of the way and we remember who we are, or we come back online with these phantom limbs or dissociated parts that were suppressed or ignored or vilified. Jupiter in Aries is going to bring all of such exploration. Again, gender, sexuality, the need for freedom, self-autonomy, and independence. Every individual is as unique as their own universe. That's a huge shining spotlight in the cosmos right now. We're working on this in our relationships. We're working on this in our jobs, in our own relationship to ourself. We have to honor what we are born into. This vehicle is here for us to test drive, and when we test drive it, then we can discover all the features of what this vehicle can do. One more piece on Mars, Aries, and desires. And again, Jupiter will move forward to Chiron this summertime. There's a big healing here. Healing of the inner warrior, the masculine, the yang, gender stigmas, self-empowerment. When desires are suppressed, they get even more charged. This is where things can get weird. This is where things can get distorted. Be aware of such suppression in yourself or when you observe it in others. I think one of the least supportive things that we can do is when we feel either in ourselves or others that weirdness that has resulted from trauma or suppression or oppression or not being allowed to. Sometimes that weirdness has a kind of repulsive nature. And then people tend to put away or judge or discard that thing that already has a history of being judged and discarded. So that's something to be aware of. We test drive by actually getting into. It is not judgment that is the fundamental problem in humanity. It is the type of a lofty assumption that assumes this is good or this is bad or this is helpful or this is not, without really getting into it, without really touching it. This type of dissociated, cocooned, and detachment assumption, that's where things really go wrong. It's not judgment that's a problem. We need discernment. We need to understand where to have our next step, where to put our energy, resources, and focus next. There are going to be people that we're working with. There's going to be people that we're more distant from. Mercury retrograde is a part of sorting through the who, the what, so we can bring these resources and ways of exchanging online in increasingly supportive, helpful, and progressive ways. That's the theme of the day, the month, the year. Now, the new moon in Gemini, it's a largely unaspected moon, just a slight sesquiquadrate to Pluto that does say something about this restructuring. And our interests, our focus, where there is a charge, is going to open a doorway to the future. This new moon is on the north node of Uranus. This does open in the month of June a progressive, humanitarian trip into the future. This is a next month where new ideas, new teachings that are quite pioneering, ahead of their time, can revolutionize our whole understanding of life in the universe. Again, 33% off the Astro School, RasalilaCommunity.com, revolutionary information. This is also going to bring us into more of a connection with like minds. Where we are specializing, where we are individuating, at first that may seem like a lonely road. I encourage each and every one of us, go that lonely road this year. It may be a little bit empty at first. It may be a little bit uncertain or undetermined at first. But honoring your unique interests, your hobbies, your taste is the necessary walk through the desert to find the others, those on a similar wavelength, those who are interested in similar things as ourself. Speaking about the Jupiter and Aries journey of self-discovery, this can be a wandering through the desert type of experience. Say, for example, you've been wound up in relationships for so many years, or say you've been a sensitive man wound up in protecting and caring women for so many years, or vice versa for so many years. Again, this is going to bring up a lot of sex, gender, opportunity for healing stuff. Just wait. Those debates, those clashes are all on the horizon. Those tense areas are opportunities for conversation and healing. Well, point is, people that are naturally compassionate oriented on the outside, our worlds, our collective, that's all wonderful, good, fine, but that's only a half of our evolutionary journey. When we understand the zodiac truthfully, we understand the dance of all life on Earth. The first 6 zodiac signs are the evolution of the individual. The second 6 zodiac signs are the evolution of the individual to be connected to and in service of the collective. We have to have both integrated and in harmony, in balance. We're not sacrificing our individuality to be sacrifice to the collective. This again is misleading traditional spiritual belief that has led to generation after generation of trauma and abuse. When we suppress our individuality or desires, that's when abusive figures demonstrate unhealthy behavior. So the point is, we have to know ourselves. We may even have to go on that wandering in the desert experience to discover what we desire, what gives us energy. If we have lost that momentum, or we have that directionlessness, which has been common mid-May, while Mars was with Neptune, now Mars is in Aries. It's like, just honor that spark. Marie Kondo, all the possibilities, hold on to it. Is it yours? Does it excite you to be in your possession? Taurus. That's what we're working with. Like, hold it, taste it, smell it, sit with it, do a little meditation. If there's no smart spark there, swipe left. You know? And if the spark's instantly there, even before you know why, oh my gosh, all of this energy just returned to my body. I don't even know why. I just have all of this excitement, all of this passion's there. I don't even know why. Swipe right. That's your green light. That is also our compass, our discernment, and our intuition through this next year with Jupiter in Aries. It is our gut. It is our instincts. It is our lower animal nature. The part of ourselves that was thrown out with the bathwater as being scary, demonic during the patriarchy. So guess what? It wasn't just feminine. that was thrown under in patriarchy. There's all sorts of wounds between masculine and feminine. It's going to be both sides working through these gender stigmas, both body gender as well as energetic, feminine or masculine. Okay, so Jupiter in Aries is like, I don't know why I'm being called over here, but I'm being called. Pull out your sword, carve that path forward. Jupiter in Aries is a lone road, do-it-yourself, looking forward without looking back. That can really work out. That is your compass. That is your green light. If you're up all night researching something, you're so energized, you're so excited, that's your green light. If you're dragging your heels to go into work or to go to the women's circle or the club, that's a red flag. Something needs to change. Okay? Our energy levels are leading us. Our excitement is leading us. Even if it seems different, even if it seems unusual, against the grain, challenging the norm, or risky. Yes, even if it seems risky, Jupiter in Aries wants to dare to open these new directions, and in doing so, we can liberate our soul. We can uncork and unblock these root chakra, fundamental, getting our roots in the earth and being full, being charged. Again, this is what desire is. We want to have goals that we have not already accomplished, things that are in the distant, things that are exciting that we have to look forward to. The reason why we're waking up every day, even if it's not what we already have. Part of this Taurus medicine is the necessary meditative space to sit with ourselves and discover the treasure chest that we're already seated upon. Venus joins Pallas, Athena, Uranus, and the moon's north node June 11th through the 16th. This is a magical opportunity to tune into that treasure chest, to tune into the body, senses, somatic therapy, garden, plants, pleasure, enjoyment. How is that leading us back to our soul, what we were born to be, what our heart represents, what we value? Filling our own glass up with that. We can start to aim these new directions forward, get excited about where things are going, get energized, get full, charged of libido, charged full of sexiness. We're confident, we're a warrior. We know we can do it on our own. We can even do what's risky. We can do what other people dare not do. And that's going to open new networks, new communities, new realities, new paradigms, new ways of being in relationship that are clear from enmeshment, that's clear from avoidance or power struggles. It's getting back to basics. What do I have that you need? What do you have that I need? How can we inspire and excite one another? June's going to be a busier month, just like this motor mouth coming from this Gemini. New moon in Gemini on May 30th is the opportunity to sow a seed for what you want to learn, what you want to share, what you want to talk and teach about, born from your own curiosity, born from your own interests. And you know what? It doesn't have to just be one thing. The reason why Gemini season is busier is we're jumping around different friend groups, different clubs, different schools, and we're wearing different hats or different masks for different people and different places. So to satiate the full diversity, all the bits, pieces, and parts of who we are. That's Gemini magic. It's shape-shifting. We don't have to be all one thing all the time. So give yourself this time to experiment. This new moon is on the north node of Uranus. My witches and magicians, this new moon is one to sow a seed for the future. We may even be able to see the future or have those downloads or blueprints of where the future of our species is taking us, how we can align, communicate, teach, and relay that information to people so we can jumpstart this humanitarian revolution that we are here to do, jumpstart, construct, and build ourselves. We can do it. Let us empower one another. You are invited to join my community. It's not only astrology, it's not only my lessons and teachings. This is a community of progressive, unique, pioneering souls oriented towards healing, oriented towards providing support. It is a closed circuit support circle. It's not on Facebook, it's not on Instagram, it's not connected to these big companies. No, it's a closed circuit, intentional community for those who need to practice requesting support, practice sharing your own resources. There's going to be some really exciting endeavors, directions being born. And if you have your own that you're excited to share, please come join us. I'd be excited to meet you and hear about it. Until next time, about to close the Gemini motor mouth trap. As per usual, take care.